Good morning. This is Steve Hoffacker. Welcome to another one of our recorded webinars for certified aging-in-place specialists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, and others who are serving the aging population. We bring you a series of topics dealing with product, solutions, techniques. This morning we have a really interesting topic for you. We have Audrey Dunn and Sara who are going to be presenting an assistive technology product called Obi. I ran across this a little while ago, and we actually include this little snippet of it in our CAPS 3 scenario, a couple of them. So without further ado, Audrey, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Good morning. Again, my name is Audrey Dunn. I have actually been selling Obi for about 5 years. And I came to work directly for the manufacturer of Obi about 2.5 years ago because I have been in the medical device field my whole career. And once I saw Obi, I knew it was the most amazing product I'd ever seen. And I was going to want to just focus on providing as many Obis as I can to as many people. So just to give you a little background about Obi, Obi was invented by John Deckard. He was raised in Michigan. When he went to college at the University of Dayton, engineering major, he started to invent Obi right in his dorm room. His inspiration to invent Obi was that his grandfather had to be fed by his grandmother, and he absolutely hated it. And at the time, John started to research what he could provide for his grandfather to feed himself, and there really just wasn't anything available. So he decided that he wanted to change that. Also, when he was still at Dayton, his professor introduced him to a little girl in Montana who she was born without limbs, and the only way she could eat was to simply put her face down in the dish and eat, similar to a pet would. So that was absolutely heartbreaking to John. So he was really inspired by this little girl in Montana to design the Obi. So after college, John and his dad started a business in Dayton, Ohio. The first Obi came to market in 2017, and they were manufacturing it right there in Dayton. And then they ended up moving the company down to Jacksonville, Florida. And that is where we are based today. We are a very small company. Every Obi is hand assembled in Jacksonville. We are trying to actually source the majority of our parts from the United States as well, because we would like it to be a completely 100% manufactured United States product with all components. So that is our goal, but I'm very proud that it is invented and manufactured here in the United States. So in 2019, we introduced the second generation of Obi. They made some improvements, and our Gen 2 came out, which is actually the same unit that we have now today. And at that time, we were able to secure a contract with the VA. So we went on to the VA contract in February of 2019. So since that time, veterans are able to get an Obi as a completely covered benefit through the VA hospital. It is a wonderful, wonderful covered benefit for them. And we are so grateful that the VA recognizes all of the benefits that they receive from an Obi, and that they will provide our veterans with one. We also have a very large pediatric market, which Sara will talk to in a bit. And of course, we service all adults. So Obi is designed to feed anyone of any age who can no longer feed themselves, or for children born with a disability where they have never been able to feed themselves. So we're really, really proud that we've been able to invent a product to fill this need. Now, there's a couple criteria as far as, I'm going to speak mostly to adults because that's kind of my specialty, but I'm sure this applies to children as well. The most important criteria to identify the candidate to use OB would be number one, they need to have head and neck control. Because with OB, they are not going to be, that spoon is not going to be put in their mouth and dumped like with, a caregiver does. The individual is going to come up and take the bite off the spoon and chew and swallow like they normally would. So they need to have enough head and neck control to be able to do that. And I'm actually going to show you at the end that you can even use the sip and puff control to operate the OB. So a quadriplegic or anyone with even limited head movement, but as long as they can take that bite, then we're able to accommodate them. The second criteria is that they need to be able to chew and swallow safely. So often a speech language pathologist will see them and make sure that they can eat safely before we recommend an OB. And the third criteria with adults is just that sometimes we'll find that if they have dementia or Alzheimer's, and they may have struggles with OB, if they can't comprehend that when they hit the switch that the bite's going to come, and they hit the switch and the bite's going to go back. So if they don't have the cognitive ability to operate a simple machine due to their memory issues, they may not be the great candidate. So I always like to explain that. Those are, again, for me, those are the three main criteria. Sara, is there anything else that you would add for children, that you would add with kids?
Yeah, so with kids, there's a lot that can come into criteria and contraindications. We have a lot of children that present, with cerebral palsy, and we all know cerebral palsy presents differently in each and every child. So I always have longer conversations with those clinicians about their abilities, spasticity, uncontrolled movements, because pretty much anything you think of with a static spoon in front of your mouth, we talk about anything and all that can go wrong before it does. So it's definitely a conversation that's specified to each and every person and each and every patient that we talk about. But yeah, it definitely blossoms from the basic all the way to the complex.
So many of the adults I work with are living with ALS, spinal cord injury, MS, Parkinson's, essential tremors, stroke, amputation, any kind of a situation where they, have just eventually lost the ability to feed themselves. And we know that no one really wants to be fed by someone else. Everybody wants that dignity to be able to feed themselves, especially our veterans. They're very, very proud individuals. They really struggle. They feel like they're just a burden on their spouse, their adult child, that they have to be fed. So I would have to say that one of the greatest things OB can provide them is the mental boost that they now are being given back their independence and their dignity. And you just can't put a price tag on that. And they'll tell you that as well. So, but I'm going to go ahead. I want to jump right into OB now and show you what it's all about and how it works. And OB is just a little 7-pound robot. It's very lightweight and portable. And it is simple and very streamlined and easy to use. So as you can see, OB comes with, take the switches apart here. OB comes with a placemat and a plate. And each plate is divided into 4 bowls. And within each of the bowls, there's going to be a ridge that is a fill line that lets them know how far to fill the food. So we can go over that in a minute when I have showing my food. But the key with OB is to not overfill the bowls. So we try to help them know how high to fill. So you just have a placemat, and these each can only go in one way, and then they sit level. OB also comes with 2 spoons. We have a pediatric spoon and the adult spoon. Now they do look the same from the top, but one is deeper. So the top spoon is your small spoon, your peds, and then the larger one is the adult. OB also comes with these two buddy switches. These are the switches that we provide with OB. And you can use a variety of switches with OB, such as the PAL pad switches. There's a ton of different sensitive switches that they have the option to use. As long as the switch has a standard headphone jack, it can plug right into OB. Now, we provide our switches with 5-foot cords. And the reason we do that is because this gives someone the flexibility that they can either have it next to OB if they're able to reach up and press the button on the table, but they can also put the switch in their lap. Some people use their feet. If they're able to use their feet, they can put the switch on the floor. They can Velcro the switch inside their wheelchair and use their knee. They can use their shoulder, their head. They can put it in their head array. So there's a whole variety of options that we have to really accommodate a lot of limitations. But as you're going to see, the switches are going to just plug right into the base. You're going to see a smiley face. One plugs, it's going to plug in there, and the other one plugs in with a picture of the bulls with the arrows. And then on the base itself, we have a power button and a teach button and a teach button on the arm. And that's all involved. There's no more programming, buttons. It's a very, very simple machine to operate. OB also plugs in to charge under the base. It does have a built-in lithium battery. So it will give you 4 hours of use off of a full charge. Only takes 90 minutes to charge. I tell people, plug it in when you go to bed. Then they wake up the next day, they have roughly 4 hours of use without having it to be plugged in, and it gives them that portability. So as you'll see, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug in my switches right into the base. You'll hear them like click in. Again, this is just a standard headphone jack. And I'm going to plug those in. And then I'm going to attach my spoon. And what you do is OB has a picture of a spoon here on his nose. It is a magnetic attachment, so it just simply snaps right on. Really easy to take off and on, to use when you need to take it off to wash it, etc. And I think we're going to be ready to go here. So I'm going to show you OB as you were being my diner. So you as my diner, the OB would be facing you like this. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to power OB on. And the first thing he does is he always comes over and bows and says hello and shows his respect. OB is short for obeisance, which is the martial arts bow they give each other before they start their match. So that's where his name comes from. But yeah, everyone loves the little bow to start their meal. So what we do first is we need to teach OB where to bring the bite. You're going to press the teach button on the base. OB's going to wiggle. There's a teach button here inside the arm. You're going to cover that with your finger. OB becomes really flexible when you're pressing the button on the arm, and that allows you to bring him up, right up to where OB's spoon is outside of the diner's mouth. You let go. You hit the teach button on the base. OB goes back and says, yes, I know where to bring the bite. So OB does have quite a range of delivery. But if you do try to deliver beyond his range, he will shake his head no and let you know I cannot deliver here. So then if he's doing that, you just kind of pull him back a little bit and bring him back, and then just bring him, you can bring him higher. He's designed to, like, you know, swivel on that base. So I always tell the diners that they want to be as close to the table as they can be. OB should be as close to them as they can be. And then with that range, OB should be able to deliver right to them. And again, right outside of their mouth. But once its position is there, and then you hit the teach button and OB says, yes, I know where to bring the bite. Now, OB will remember this top position so that the next time they turn him on, he will deliver right back to that same position from the prior meal. Some individuals may have positioning changes, so they might need to have OB retaught for the next meal, but then there's other people who don't, so they're able to simply power it on and start to eat. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put in a plate of some pre-filled things here and show you. Now it is time to eat. So the switch on the right, there isn't anything in this bowl, but I want to show you the switch on the right is the switch that you hit to ask for a bite. OB is going to come down and scoop up a bite and bring it up to their mouth. When they have taken their bite, they hit their switch and back he goes. The switch on the left allows them to move around the plate so that they can choose to eat from whatever bowl they'd like. Once they're over the bowl that they would like to eat from next, they go back to their right switch, they hit that switch. OB's going to come down, scoop up a bite of granola, wipe the spoon, and bring it right up to their mouth. Now, there is no rush for your diner to eat. OB will stay up here for up to a minute. So if they need to take more than one bite to clear the spoon, that is completely fine. Once they've taken their bite and they're ready for the next bite, they send it back and they determine that. So OB does allow someone to eat at their own speed. They determine their pace and they determine what they eat and how fast they eat, etc. So again, the right switch they hit and OB comes down and scoops up a bite, wipes the spoon and brings it right up. I do have some adults, some of my men who are with ALS, but they are able to still really eat and they're able to eat a lot. So they're literally like taking their bite and they are immediately sending it back for the next one. But again, it gives you a lot of flexibility for that individual diner for whatever their needs are. The left switch again is going to move it around. I want to show you how great OB does with liquids. Here comes some Gatorade. OB can deliver everything from liquids to solids. So as you'll see, there's not a drop. This allows people to have milk and cereal and soup and yogurt and all the kinds of things. And it's a very smooth delivery and will not drip on them. So it really allows them to eat a variety of things. But so what they can do liquids, they can do, everything in between. But when they get up to solid food, so anything like meat, pizza, fresh fruits and vegetables, if it is solid food, it needs to be cut to be a bite size, which would be about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch in size. So that's important that whoever is doing the food prep, make sure that they cut the food small enough so that OB spoon can scoop it up and bring it to the diner. And there's some foods such as macaroni and cheese, mashed potatoes. They may be they're a clumpy food. They may deliver kind of a stickier, bigger bite than necessary. If that's the case, we recommend thinning out that with milk, any kind of food that might be clumpy. Just kind of thin it out a little bit if it's giving too big of a bite. But essentially, I've got some blueberries here. OB does great with fruit and vegetables. So as I mentioned, when you start the meal, it's important that they cut the food properly and fill up to the ridge in the fill line. And that's because OB is going to count the bites as the meal goes on. And when he starts the meal, he's going to be digging from the top of the bowl. But as the meal progresses, and he knows the food is going down. So every so many bites, you're going to see OB scrape the sides of the bowl, reposition the food, and dig deeper. And the robot knows, and he will continue to do that until there is no food left in the bowl. It'll adjust itself and keep digging deeper. Now, OB is not artificial intelligence. We stopped shy of that simply because it became the cost involved with AI. So he won't talk, OB can't talk to you, and you can't tell it what to do. It's not going to know when the bowl is empty. So just saying, like if you eat everything from one bowl, it won't know. You're just going to have to skip that bowl, right, and go to the next one. But otherwise, the technology involved in him, just simply that it knows how to adjust and keep scraping the bowl and getting every single bite of the food that's left. So now, the beauty is that really once the food prep is done, and again, they have the option of putting in a beverage in one of the bowls instead of all food, is that they can just simply set up the diner and let them feed themselves and let them eat at their own pace and just, just check on them. But it just gives them that freedom to determine, let them eat at their own pace. And the whole thing is we have found that often when people are being fed by someone else, the caregiver could set the pace, right? Let's say, we know a lot of these caregivers are very busy. They have a lot to do. They might be working full time. So when it comes to feeding their loved one, they're probably trying to either feed themselves and feed them at the same time. But often they're just putting the spoon in, they're dumping the food in the mouth. That food's going back too far on the tongue. It's not a natural way of normally how you would take the food and move it back in your mouth. So actually dumping that food in that mouth, that can actually cause more issues with like the coughing or even the risk of aspiration because the food's too far back in their mouth. So allowing them to go back to the normal way of taking it and chewing and swallowing on their own, we see it can improve digestion. It can reduce GERD. We see that when people eat with OB, they tend to eat longer. I've had veterans follow up with me who say, my nutrition's improved. I put on 10 pounds because I enjoy eating again. I enjoy it. I'm feeding myself. So again, the psychological benefits, the nutritional benefits are huge. And I've had facilities say the demeanor of the individual has just changed overnight since they've started to be able to eat with OB. And so it's fantastic. But we've made it very simple to use. Again, that's all that's involved. A teach button, a power button. You've got a battery light indicator on the base, let you know when the battery's going low. And again, we have a variety of switches for people to use. I'm going to show you really quickly. This is a wonderful option, the sip and puff for, again, like quadriplegics or for anyone, even some of my ALS patients who have completely just lost the ability, to use their arms at all. So I wanted to show you how the sip and puff works because this is a device. It comes with the gooseneck straw and it comes with a connector box from the hose. And then these are just standard headphone jacks, which why they can plug right into OB. So then what they can do is put these switches right in here. And I'm going to go ahead and retrain OB to deliver to me. Okay, so now I'm going to take a sip, and it's the slightest breath. It's very, very sensitive, so it doesn't require much at all. Take my sip. OB's going to come right up. Sip again, back he goes. This time I'm going to puff, and I'm going to puff, and OB is going to move around the bowls. And when I get to where I want, I will again sip, and OB will bring me my bite. And so this is a definite switch option. So I like to show everyone how the sip and puff works, because it really is quite amazing. It takes, like I said, no breath at all. But after the meal is over, you just take away the dish, and you can take away the spoon, and the dishes and the spoons, they can go in the dishwasher. The plate is microwavable, which really helps. Like if there's food prepped out ahead of time, this can be popped in the microwave and heated in short bursts, and then put right into the placemat. But besides that, all you do is just wipe OB down with a wet cloth. You can use an antibacterial cloth, whatever they want to use. So cleanup is super easy. And, again, we're trying to make things easy for the caregiver, in addition to the diner. So we have been, like I said, we have over 500 veterans who have now received OBs since 2019. Internationally, so we probably have about 2,500 OBs out there internationally that we have sold since we've come to market. So we do have a very proven track record. OB is it's like the Energizer Bunny. Honestly, it's designed to work. It's a medical device, so it gives you that DME. They classify like the 3 to 5 years delivery. We are seeing 5 years out of OB. Maybe after 5 years of daily use, you're going to need a new lithium battery put in, which we would do ourselves factory. Otherwise, might need to replace switches if they're, too heavily used for several years. But there's no maintenance involved. It's just simple stuff, simple to use. And so Sara, what would you like to add? Anything here before we move on that I've missed with talking about OB?
Set up an operation, you covered everything and then some. So I don't think I have anything to add to this. You've really covered everything. So it's wonderful. Yeah.
So OB went ahead. If you saw, OB just went down to rest. And this is designed that after 2 minutes of no activity, he'll do this to preserve his battery. Now, he's still powered on, but since I haven't asked for a bite, he just was like, I'm going to go take a nap because you're not using me. So essentially, when he goes to rest, and you need to wake him up, you hit a switch. He's going to come. He's going to wake up. He's going to give you a bunch of attitude. He shakes his head and says, hey, I'm sleeping. Leave me alone. But he really is ready to go back to work. And that's all, his little mechanism there. And then once you do that, then he's ready to go. OB will not power off on its own until after an hour of no activity. So just to let you know. So before we talk about funding and such, does anyone have any questions for me regarding OB itself and how it works? And
I'm not seeing anything, so okay. Keep going.
All right, great. Well, so we provide OB. We actually ship him in this cute little box with a handle. It does have foam in there to protect OB. We want people to take OB with them, and they do. They take it to the restaurant. They go on vacation. They take it to their family's house for the holidays. We want it to go with them and be portable. So we do ship it in that box to make it really easy to take. And again, like I said, we do everything down in Jacksonville, Florida. We're a very small company. We work directly with the end users as well. We're always here to support them. There would be any problems after they receive an OB, they can contact us as a manufacturer directly for as long as they need, and we would be, we're here to help. We're in system.
Audrey, this is Rebecca. If it's not covered by Medicare or private insurance, how much is it?
Okay, so if someone truly had to pay out-of-pocket costs for an OB, the cost is $8,600. And what we have found so far is Well, as I mentioned, your veterans can completely get one through their VA hospital as a covered benefit. I have 16 states. I cover the entire East Coast because I specialize, primarily with the VA and the veterans. But I have counterparts that cover the rest of the country. We are here to assist any veteran. So, like if you have a veteran who would like to try OB, we can help them make sure that they connect with the VA and they can try it, the OB through the VA, etc. Now, as far as private insurance and Medicaid, we have had some success with those in very different states. So it's just the Medicare at this time does not cover OB. However, we've got some private insurance plans that adults have where we're starting to see some approvals and some success. And I don't know, Sara, if you've had anything with adults that you've seen any approvals, or has it been pretty much just the kids? Because I know you've had a lot of.
I have a couple that I'm assisting with. It's definitely been a recent learning process. We've implemented some really fantastic templates in the recent, and they have proven to be very effective. So we're very hopeful for continued success and entering it into the adult realm as well. I work primarily from, I have a 1-year-old trialing now all the way up to 21, usually is the age out for me. But I do assist with adults if they're near my location. I live in Illinois. So a couple of them around me I have been assisting with. And it's definitely a process what I've learned. I've been a pediatric ATP for going on almost 10 years. And what I've learned is consistency is key. And when you are kind of servicing the entire United States, it takes a little bit of time to find that consistency in every state with every insurance. So the more that we present on the front end for the clinicians to use and to present to insurance reviewers and to educate insurance reviewers, the better off that these insurance approvals are going to start to increase. I think anyone would agree, as soon as a reviewer sees robot, they don't know what it is. They don't care to learn what it is, and they just deny it. So what we do on our end is the templates, like I've mentioned before, have established really a substantial. It's like a fort. We're building a fort around. It's kind of like what we talk about. It's a fort around the submission. It's showing the reviewer that this is legitimate. This is serious. We're not going to, submit, get denied, and just lay back and die. We're going to fight until we can't fight anymore. We're going to show you everything that there is about the benefits of being able to feed yourself, how OB can benefit the patient, and just a holistic approach to it. So it is an ever evolving process. Pediatrics has seen a humongous growth with coverages from state Medicaids to private insurances. And we all know pediatric submissions are received differently from adults. So like I said, it's an ever evolving a practice on our end, but we do so much that we possibly can to assist the clinicians that we all know don't have the time, to research how to justify a product like this. We do that for you on the front end on our side. And then we also assist if we do run into additional information requests, denials, appeals. We fully assist with that as well, all the way until every option is exhausted. We have had private funding for OB with different organizations, depending on diagnoses and location. So we are always researching that, learning, recording. We have spreadsheets for different states to provide if the insurance does do a final, it's not covered or it's not going to happen sort of feel. So we really do everything on our end to help support the clinicians and help get the robots to the patients that need them. We were part of a robotics committee out in California. It's kind of interesting. Please. So sorry, my 4-year-old just doesn't understand what to. Just go on, please. Go on. Yep. No, thank you. I'm so sorry. So anyways, we are actually part of a robotics committee. It was, I believe, about 6 months ago, and it was us and then a really high-end robot that runs around and interacts with children and just really, really, just does a ton of things. And by the end of the meeting, they were more interested. That company was more interested in our company because, you know, having a high-end robot is amazing and it's so impressive. But it's not accessible. No one can afford to buy it unless you're a millionaire. Honestly, some of these price tags are crazy. But the appeal, I think, with Obi is how simple it is, but how effective it is. It has a merriment between this high-end software that it uses, but also the usability for almost any person or caretaker to actually implement it in their lives. So it's really a unique item. I think it really how we work, and like I said, I've been a pediatric ATP for a while, and I worked for your new motions, and I've worked for I've been on the other side of the process, and there's no other vendor that does what we do, that supports like we do, because we know it's essential to get this out to the right people, and to support the clinicians and to educate. I think probably 99% of the clinicians I meet on a daily basis never heard of OB, didn't know that there was a solution to self-feeding past all of the other options that have been exhausted. They just kind of came to the term that they're going to be fed by a caregiver, and that's it. So once they learn that there is an alternative, and it's actually an accessible alternative, it kind of changes things, and people get really excited. So we like to, OB is really cool, and you like to see what it does. But we also do our best to make it as accessible as possible to the general environment, and the general population.
Sara, is there a smaller one for the children, or is it all the same size product?
So the robot is all the same. The spoons, like Audrey had showed you, there's two different sizes. One's a little bit more shallow. To be transparent, we are always evolving. We take a lot of feedback from occupational therapists, from our families, from our users. So we are looking into different shapes and different sizes for a potential, I think maybe in 2025 will be a couple different options that we're offering besides the two. So we're always looking at feedback. Like I had a therapist was like, maybe if they had a noise beep where someone with visual impairments could hear it coming if they can't quite see it, or switches that have different colors or things of the sort. So we get a ton of feedback from, because it's an ever evolving process. We're constantly learning, I'm learning new things, even from diagnoses I've seen 100 times that presents differently. So it's always, we love that interaction, and we pride ourselves in interacting with our clinicians, because a lot of other vendors in my day, it was vendor to the ATP to the clinician, and then there was always something lost in translation. So it's really nice that we have the ability and present that, our direct assistance to the clinician. So it's a little bit of a more efficient outcome as well. It's a little bit faster, and we can, directly answer any questions that pop up along the process. So,
Great.
So yeah, ever evolving.
All right, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wanted to mention, within the state of Pennsylvania, I live in Pittsburgh. I do know that we are having success here with the one of our big providers, UPMC. They actually have a waiver program, and it is, I guess, kind of part of Medicaid, but it's through the UPMC group, but it's a waiver that is being offered to the older population, and it is being used to purchase OB, and it's the home modification companies who are the ones that are submitting that on behalf of the individual, and they are finding success with getting that waiver for OB here in Pennsylvania. I'm sure this is probably an opportunity in other states as well. I just have happened to hear about more here because I live here, and I've been working with the local team. So I do think that although Medicare isn't funding OB, that there are other options. ALS, the ALS Association chapters, they have OBs in their, excuse me, in their loan closets. That is one thing we do, work directly with the ALS chapters, and we are trying to have them purchase more OBs so they can provide their clients, and they will let their client use an OB for as long as they need it, and so that is one option for someone who has ALS. and to definitely reach out to their chapter and see if they can get assistance with equipment and borrowing an OB.
Yeah, we have state AT programs that have OB in their closets. We have schools that purchase them for districts. We have like children's hospitals, rehab hospitals that have either long-term loaners or have purchased them as a demo for their departments. So it's actually it's growing. The more people learn about it and see what it offers, and the accessibility and the price. You know, it's not something that's out of reach for a lot of school districts, a lot of state facilities. So it's definitely growing, and the word is getting out, and the word is good. So
there really isn't anything else on the market like OB. You know, I mean, I know there's a lot of intermediary products that you can get between the weighted silverware all the way up to when you get to the OB robot, or there's now things that are beyond it, like the arm. They're expensive. What's the name of the robot? They have that robotic arm.
Jayco arm.
The Jayco arm, right? But that's like thousands of dollars, right? Mm-hmm. Super expensive. So as far as, even though $8,600 sounds like a lot, when you look at what the integrative software and the technology that's built into OB, and knowing that it's going to deliver up, you know, at least 5 years of service before it's going to need possibly a battery replacement. So it's if you look at the cost of what you break that down over the life of the OB and what you're getting, it's really not that expensive relative to, again, some of the new stuff that's coming out is very, very expensive. So.
And we'll cover is the trial program. So it is structured a little different depending on our user. The VA works a little different than pediatrics, works a little different than some of our state programs. So what we encourage and what we really believe in here is we want the person to have it in front of them and try it before any payment is made, any insurance submission is done, all of the above. So for instance, for pediatrics, we encourage to do a initial assessment. Once you receive it, it's all free. We ship it to the clinicians after a pre-screen is completed with me personally. We ship it to the clinicians for free. They would do an initial assessment to assure that they are safe and they understand how to use it. We encourage them to send it home with the family for a week, just to make sure that it jives with their family dynamic, that it's actually an asset to their day. And then do a post-assessment 7 to 10 days later to see how they've progressed in that week and to make sure that it is a piece of equipment that is going to be valuable in their lives and not be, you know, something cool and then just not really work for them, or something that they're interested in, but it doesn't really align with their family values or their routine. So we encourage to do those extended trials, not only for insurance to see that it was trialed and it was successful and have the data for it, but also to make sure that we can avoid any kind of equipment abandonment at any cost. So the trial program for peds is pretty, like I said, 7 to 10 days. We work through it the entire time. We troubleshoot if there's an issue with positioning or an issue with food prep, all the good stuff. So we are available through that. We have some states that get 30-day trials because their specific insurance requires it. But it is kind of, like I said, I say it again, it's an ever-evolving process with that as well. So
does that have to be shipped, or do they pick it up, or
we ship it? Yeah. Okay. Yep. So unless they want to, some of them reach out to their state AT departments and they can get it for like 30 days. But our trial program, we ship to and from for free. We facilitate
to the actual end user, to their house.
Yeah. We send it to the clinician, and then the clinician will do the initial assessment and then send it home, and then they do the post-assessment. So all of
how does someone enroll in your program?
Yeah, so usually, depending on how they hear about us, they would reach out to our website for an inquiry. It would then be delegated to pediatric or adult or VA. And then for instance, if it was pediatric, I would reach out to them and we'd have a virtual screening process, which is pretty much just a quick conversation about who they have in mind, what they look like with their current eating situation, any contraindications we can run into, dietary restrictions. And then we have them fill out, it's called our enrollment form, which is just pretty much agreeing to receive the device and ship it back when you're done.
Is there a deposit or anything involved?
No, no deposit. We actually have changed our enrollment form and really removed liability off of the clinicians because we really have seen with that interaction of having that pre-screen, we have great relationships with our clinicians and even the families. So I meet with families sometimes before the clinicians. It just depends on who reaches out first and who has the questions first. It does kind of go both ways depending on who just goes to our website and or finds us on social media or sees us in one of our conferences around the country.
Okay. We had a comment. Somebody said they're using a Winsford feeder. Does that ring a bell with you?
What was it?
A Winsford feeder. Somebody said they're using that.
I haven't. Audrey, have you heard of that? I've never heard of that one.
I haven't. I'm sorry.
Pat, you want to elaborate? Still with us, Pat? All right.
How do you spell that?
Oh, she doesn't have a microphone. Okay. Winsford.
I'll be perfectly honest. I've never heard of this, the Winsford.
Winsford,
I'll have to Google it.
Okay.
But I did want to comment too real quick about the veterans. So we offer courtesy trials for our veterans as well. We usually do ship them directly to the veteran. I provide all the training to the veteran and their caregiver virtually. They can try OB at home. We provide the postage and they send it back. It works beautifully. So we do this courtesy trials with the VA as well, so that they are guaranteed, well assured, that when they buy an OB for a veteran, that it is going to be used and it isn't going to just be delivered and be sitting in the corner. So that's why we're here to make sure that anyone that does get an OB does use it and knows how, and if they have trouble, that we're here. So the trial program is huge.
Yeah, she put in the chat that it's an older device that works similarly, but can't get parts for it anymore.
Mm-hmm. It's not even, is it even made anymore?
I don't know.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah,
I had one question for you that maybe you could elaborate on the box, the carry box, which I think is really neat. How durable is that? Is it need replaced or?
It is pretty durable. It's like corrugated cardboard, and I know we're actually even changing the materials of it right now.
I mean, if it gets wet, somebody takes it out in the rain or into a restaurant, something that gets wet. That was my concern.
Yeah, I haven't had a problem with that so much. Mostly, but if you can see, there is the foam. What you'll do is you're going to put Obi right back in here, and then and then he can be protected. And then we have this foam piece that goes in there, and then you can there and get sew on. But we haven't had very many issues with our boxes. That hasn't been one that's been a complaint as far as it not being durable. I know I've traveled with my OB quite a bit, and you can take it right through TSA security. No problems there at all. So you can take it on the plane if you'd like. Yeah, and one thing I do like to point out is the only thing when someone does receive an OB, the OB's arm is going to be flat in order, as you can see, to go in that foam. So when you receive an OB, his arm is going to be just like this when he comes in his box, right? So that he can fit inside that foam. But OB cannot power on in this position. So the only thing that's required is when you first get it and take it out of the box is that OB's arm needs to be bent so that it can be put in its starting position. So in order to power OB on, they just need to bend his elbow and bend him back like this, and then he can start.
Okay.
One other thing, I guess I always, it's funny, I do these presentations every day, but I wanted to say one more thing. The other nice thing is the diner always has the option to send the bite back. So for instance, we don't want anyone to ever feel like they're forced to take a bite. So in this scenario, I'm going to move OB around. I've asked for a bite, but I'm coughing, I'm sneezing. I've just changed my mind, and the bite's coming, and I just don't want it. If they hit the button again before it reaches them, OB is going to go back, dump the food, wipe the spoon, and wait. So they're always able to send the bite back to the dish. And that's it's just kind of a nice little option that we built in as well.
Terrific. Any other questions? It's been a very good presentation. Very informative.
So we have, again, like I said, we have a VA team that covers the entire country. There's 3 of us. And then we have Sara, who is our pediatric specialist. But we also have an educational person in-house. We are doing a lot of work right now to try to get to get a clinical study done. Again, you know, we have really just been around. It's been, 7 years? And even in that amount of time, I think we've done amazing things, but we are still trying to get the word out. We're still trying to educate people. There's a lot of people out there that have never heard of OB, do not know a thing about it. So our goal is to help spread the word. And, you know, and that's why I'm so grateful to you, Steve, that you invited me to participate today and reach some of your, you know, viewers who are all across the country. Again, our website is awesome. There are videos, testimonials, users, there's clinician support information, meetob.com. So always a good source. But at the same time, you can always contact us, and I can help anyone who needs assistance with an adult or a veteran, and Sara can help anyone that needs assistance with pediatrics. And again, we'll work directly with your end users and assist them and let them try OB before we even you know, try to get the funding.
Terrific. Well, if there's no other questions, if there are, feel free to submit them to me or Sara. Audrey, do you have you don't have a screenshot of your contact? I'll put that in I'll send that out to everybody where they can get a hold of you. Or Sara, if they have questions or comments.
I did have a question. This
here we
is
go. Go ahead,
Angela.
please. Yeah.
I work in Illinois' AT program, and we have 2 of the OBs in our device loan that people can borrow for 6 weeks. But sometimes we do get the questions about funding. So if someone reaches out to us and, you know, maybe they're borrowing the OB and they're interested in having one permanently, on the website, is that where they should go to reach out to try to get like the funding trial? Or oftentimes they're working with a clinician as well, but I just wasn't sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I would do is, since, like I said, we're ever evolving, we're learning every single day about different funding sources. Reach out to the website, or if you have one of our contacts or they have one of our contacts, and we'll point you in the right direction to the right appropriate person, and we'll have a conversation. Have they tried it? What does it look like? How successful was it? Diagnoses, because obviously diagnoses can control different waiver programs. We've even had like the Christopher Reeves Foundation cover it before for someone with paralysis. So there is, whatever we learn, we document, and we have it like in our little handy dandy spreadsheet. So it just depends on Illinois versus Iowa versus Minnesota versus, you know, all the different states. So the best thing what I would recommend is reaching out to OB and then connecting with that rep. And then we have conversations and figure out what we can do in our power to help with getting it covered. Be it insurance, be it alternative funding, or what have you. That's usually the best way to do it. Yeah.
There was one other, did that answer your question, Angela? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
There was another question about relationships with Parkinson's or Huntington's associations.
So
Audrey, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, mostly a lot of the education, I mean, we have tried to reach out to those national organizations, and we are always offering to provide education. One thing, I mean, I've met with caregiver support groups, right? Who I'm just trying to educate the caregivers that this is an option that's available if their person, you know, could use an OB kind of thing. But as far as like, we haven't done any kind of like official partnership,
Sure.
I guess, with Parkinson's or anything like that. But we're absolutely always open to anyone. We will join forces, and anyone that, you know, that can help us spread the word and whatever we can do.
Terrific. And you also can connect with Audrey on LinkedIn, which is one of the ways I found her initially. So feel free. Sara, are you on LinkedIn as well?
Yes. Yep,
Okay,
absolutely.
so we can all connect there and keep conversations going. So I think we're going to wrap it for today. It's been an excellent, great presentation, very informative. So thanks so much for your presentation.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Steve. I really appreciate, I'm glad we connected on LinkedIn, and I really appreciate you offering me this time. Thank you, everyone who joined us today. I really appreciate your time as well. It's been a pleasure, and we're here. If you have any more questions, reach out to us directly. Steve, you can share our contact information.
Absolutely.
Feel free. And yeah, so thank you, everyone.